and welcome back to our series, I Bought a Farm. So now what? In the first episode, we were out on the farm and I discussed the owner's issue with that property. And it's a common issue for us in Extension. We routinely get people calling, I'd say 2 to 3 times a week in most county offices. They call asking what they can do with a piece of property that they just purchased or an inherited or something. All of a sudden, they own some ground. What can we do? In the first episode, we discussed some options and just generally laid out what this video series was going to entail. Basically, a day by day or week by week, step-wise video time series on how to do something with a set of property. So just to reiterate and make sure everybody's on the same page, the landowner has about 37 acres of property that's reasonably developed. There is fence. Some of it is not great fence, but fence. There's a pond. There's a couple of waters that have city water in it. But the land otherwise is pretty undeveloped. And the farm plan, their plan for whatever they're going to do with the property, is very undeveloped. Now, I forgot, there's also a tobacco barn in Kentucky. There's a lot of property that also has a tobacco barn, but no facilities, nothing as far as handling cattle and nothing like that. So we're starting pretty much from scratch. Okay. So if you're starting from scratch and you're wanting to do something with this property, and really all the owner wants to do is to make enough money to pay his taxes on the property, and to be able to maintain and grow the property, make the property a little bit better, so that at some point in time, if they don't own it anymore, they're going to be selling an improved property that's more valuable. Or if this venture, if these enterprise that we decide to do on this property works out, they're going to expand it, develop it, and the better the property is, the more likely they are to continue to make money. Well, one of the keys to making decisions and developing ideas is to have information. And in particular, what we need to do to make the best decisions is we need a source of reliable, unbiased information that we don't have to vet, we don't have to search through, we don't have to worry about the validity of that information, because we can trust the source. We can trust who we're getting our information from. And so we don't have to spend an enormous amount of time trying to figure out if the person that we're getting this information from is just another internet wacko. Okay. Well, I work in extension. And so I'm obviously going to recommend that the extension service be utilized for your source of unbiased information. And for those of you that don't know what extension is or what the extension service is, in 1914, the federal government, with the Smith-Lever Act, created the Cooperative Extension Service. And the goal of the Cooperative Extension Service was to educate the public, particularly in agriculture, in youth, in home economics, community leadership and development, etc. But the main focus of the Corporate Extension Service were two things: the home, which included youth, and the farm. The Corporate Extension Service began in 1914 and really grew and developed into a vast source of information. And what Corporate Extension tries to do is they try to take the research and information learned at land-grant universities and other universities, and they try to take that and develop educational programs and teaching tools to help our users, the clientele, the people, in ag and other areas that we're trying to engage. We want to develop these programs based upon this research at these land grant institutions. And so extension was developed by the government. We're all state employees, and our job is to help educate the public in a variety of materials, including agriculture, which is really the focus of what we're doing. So, how do you get involved with extension? What is extension? How's it organized? How's it, where do we have access to it? Originally, the goal was to have an extension office in every county across the United States. And I think probably at one time in the 50s and 60s, that was probably occurring. But through the federal budget crunches and state budget crunches and educational budget crunches over the years, somewhere in the late 70s, funding for extension began to decline in many states. And so a lot of states are organized into a state extension group, which has extension specialists like myself who develop educational content for producers and for extension agents. And then it'll go from the state extension down to either regional or county extension agents, and then they are the ones that are responsible for disseminating most of the information. In Kentucky, we are blessed to have county extension agents in every county of the state. We have 120 counties in Kentucky, and each county has a county office and at least 2 county agents. Most of them have county agent for ag and natural resources. Most of them have a county agent for family and consumer sciences, and most of them will have a county agent for 4-H, which is a youth development program. And so in Kentucky, we're very blessed to have a very strong county-based extension service where in every single county, there is a building, there is an office to help provide a variety of information to our farmers and home mothers, homeowners, etc. There's a vast variety of information that's available at most extension offices. The property that we're interested in is in Woodford County, Kentucky. And so if I just, I'm going to share my screen here. And if I jump on Dr. Google, of course, a lot of our information is currently obtained through Google or one of the other search engines and YouTube. But again, the problem is, how do you know what in the world is going on? How do you know if the information that you're gathering is safe, reliable, and useful? And so I just typed in Woodford County Cooperative Extension Office, and this came up. So when I click on that, that pulls up the home page of the extension office here in Woodford County. It'll show you a little, gives you the address and contact information, and it shows you the outside of the building. Extension in Kentucky is covered by a state or county extension tax. So there's a taxing district in nearly every county in Kentucky that helps support local extension. We're, of course, interested in ag and natural resources because we have property that we want to develop or try some sort of ag process. And when we click on ag and natural resources, the county agent in Woodford County for A&R is Adam Probst. And we're going to be talking with Adam here in just a minute. But anyhow, if I want to get in touch with Adam, normally I could just click on that, send Adam an email, or give him a phone call, and off we go. So that's extension. Now we're going to be joined by Adam Probst, and we're going to talk about the county extension offices, how to use them, what sources, resources are available, what services are available, and so forth. We're now joined by Adam Probst. Adam is the county agent for Ag and Natural Resources in Woodford County, Kentucky. Welcome, Adam, to the episode 2 of I Bought a Farm. Now what? Adam, if you don't mind, just spend a couple of minutes discussing the function and the operation of a county extension office and then what your role as Ag and Natural Resources Extension Agent is.
Sure. So, at least in Kentucky, we've got a county extension office in all 120 counties, and we serve a multitude of roles, everything from ag and natural resources, family and consumer sciences, youth development, and even some community and economic development. And the goal of our office is to assimilate a lot of the information that is developed at the university level, at University of Kentucky, Kentucky State University, and even some other universities across the region, and we try to deliver that to those members in the communities that we serve. So in my case, I deliver that to, as an ag and natural resources agent, I deliver information to farmers and producers and landowners throughout Woodford County, Kentucky, trying to serve various capacities, whether it might be anything from livestock to something more plant and agronomy related. We also serve a lot of homeowners in more horticulture type based systems, as far as vegetables or ornamentals or lawn and garden type things. So as far as ag and natural resources goes, that's what a lot of our discussions revolve around, at least in Woodford County.
How you talked about educational materials, and how do you educate your clientele? What services are provided by the county extension office, and how do you get the material out? How do people access the material?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different methods that we try to get information to people. One is a kind of a traditional, classroom type setting. We do a lot of winter meetings on various topics where we will bring in a speaker. A lot of times we'll do some education sessions ourselves with landowners and farmers throughout the county. So we do some one-on-one consultations as well, as far as farm visits, home visits, and that sort of thing. People with individual questions, or maybe something that might be a little more particular about a situation. So a lot of times we'll go out and do some one-on-one consultations that way, provide some education. Also do newsletters, social media posts, trying to get a lot of information out to as many people as we can serve, and most effective ways we can do that. So video like this is one way we try to get some information out. As far as services that we provide, there's a multitude of different things. So probably the number one thing most people are familiar with the extension service with is soil sample or soil testing services that we offer. We also do a lot of other analytical services as far as hay sampling, forage sampling. We try to work with landowners or farmers and connect them with laboratories. Maybe there's something that UK doesn't offer as an analytical service, but we try to connect those producers with other labs to get those desired results or answers that they're looking for. We do a lot of other services in the youth development arena as well. Most people are familiar with 4-H. It's been around a long time as a youth program. All that's run through the county extension offices as well.
So let's say I'm watching this video and I've got this exact problem. Got some property, want to do something with it, trying to make some decisions, but I've never used extension, didn't even know there was an extension office. I'll bet you half the population of the county in a normal situation doesn't even know that there is such a thing as extension, and that there's some avenues for education and interaction there that just at least 50% of our population in each county probably just doesn't even realize it's there. If I've never used it, how do I get started? What do I do? Do I just call the office, or what's the best way to get started? If I've never used it, what's the best way to get started using extension?
So far and away, the first step would be to probably make a phone call to the office. You should be able to get on Google or any other online search engine and look up your local county extension office. So in Woodford County, you just Google Woodford County Extension Office. They should be able to pop right up and get all of our contact information. And usually the first step is to make a call, introduce yourself to, whichever agent. In my case, working with landowners, landowners will call me, introduce themselves, and we kind of just talk about what their operation is, what their goals are for the property. Maybe you don't have any goals, and then we kind of sit down and look at.
That's probably a lot of people.
Yeah, so we kind of go through some discussion, and then we try to identify some goals and what you want to get out of the property. So sitting down and kind of introducing yourselves, we can get you on mailing lists for those areas that you might be interested in. I mentioned we do a lot of newsletters and social media posts and that sort of thing. So we can start getting you that information, and then in those newsletters we provide more information about maybe upcoming meetings or other programs that you can get involved in. So usually the first step is introducing yourself to an agent, getting a name with a face, and getting on those mailing lists. So once you get on those mailing lists, you'll get a lot more information about other programs or services that we can do, as time goes on. So.
Just an old-fashioned phone call.
Just an old-fashioned phone call.
That's awesome. Good. So earlier in this video, I talked about, one of the problems that people have when they're trying to make decisions, whether it's about property or, anything, whatever you're trying to do, is to find an unbiased, reliable source of information. Because when you jump on Dr. Google and you type away and you get you never know what's going to pop up. Right. I mean, Wikipedia, but again, that's just people putting information in. You can't,
right.
How do you trust all that information? And so, I talked about how, the Cooperative Extension Service was established by the federal government and was supposed to be and is the last bastion of unbiased, reliable information in our educational system. I mean, it really is a unique system for education. How do you get your information? We talked about in this video before, just Googling, jumping on a search engine or whatever, getting on YouTube and going through a bunch of videos. But how do you get your information? How do you know that the information that you're giving out is truly reliable?
So most of all the information that I get, I've either learned that through some educational trainings that I go through, that's delivered by specialists and professors at the university level, or I get that from a lot of the publications that's been put out by either University of Kentucky or Kentucky State University. And if we don't have information on those subjects, I look at other universities, or even other USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, or governmental type sites. Sometimes I'll use Google to look up those, certain sites, but I don't usually just Google, what's this weed, and unless I know that's a reputable site from either another, land grant institution, university, or governmental agency that's going to have that unbiased information.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the unique aspects of extension is that, and I kind of described just in general the not hierarchy, but the levels of extension, that you have state specialists and regional, specialists in some cases in some states, and then county agents. But one or two people in nearly every subject in extension that's an expert in that subject, and you just pick up the phone and give them a call or shoot them an email, and you have access to experts. Right.
Right. And that's one of the great things about the whole extension system is, as you mentioned, we've got experts and world-renowned experts in many different areas. Just here at the university, we've got several folks that are known around the world and just not just around the country for the work that they do, the expertise that they provide. So, having access to that, and not only that, but being in the extension system provides a lot of access to maybe some of those individuals from other universities that might have something applicable to what we're wanting to look at here in Kentucky. So
Awesome. Great. Is there anything you want to add about county extension that I haven't covered yet?
I think that's covered a lot of it.
Awesome. Thanks,
So,
Adam, for your time. And
no problem.
episode 3 is going to come up, and actually Adam is going to be joining me on that episode as well. And the backgrounds will look really familiar because we're just going to hang up and call each other again. But I want to thank everybody for joining and look forward to episode 3, which will be coming out pretty soon. Thanks.